Robbie.
Welcome to Altair, gentlemen. I am to transport you to the residence.
Alright, hello everybody, I'm Dope and this is Dope Comics on YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk my favorite thing, pre-code horror. I've been saving some pre-code horror back. This ain't all I got. This ain't close to all I got, but been saving it back till we get some viewers on our channel. Starting to get a little bit of viewership, so I'm going to bring out some better books. And today we're going to talk my favorite thing, which, like I said, it's pre-code horror. You know, I love hero stuff. I love what I call skank comics, which is the books nobody wanted. Oddball, Dells, you know, Golden Key, Charlton, all that stuff. I love 70s DC. But nothing is close. Nothing. Everything else down here, pre-code up here. Ain't even close. The house is burning down. I'm trying to grab all the pre-code shit. What can I tell you? Mainly going to talk about EC because they're in my opinion, they're the godfathers of all pre-code horror. They're not the rarest, but they're definitely the reason pre-code horror is where it's at. They got farther than anybody else. Some people hate on them because their books are a little bit more common, even though they're still rare compared to superhero shit. But just love them. Love them. EC was a company that started out by a guy named Max Gaines. Sounded like he needed to be a bodybuilder with his Max Gaines. Max Gaines! But he started out the company and was in 1944, and it was called Educational Comics. And he wanted to do comic books about just anything from the Bible to science to anything that he could get in the school system. So, history. He died in 1947 in a boating accident, and his son took over the company, and his son's name was William Gaines. William Gaines was a little bit more like me. He's like, you know, I want to make books about horror, war, science fiction stories, anything with a shocking ending. And that's what he did. Cool part about it was they were making money selling Bible and educational stuff, and he didn't want to just jump in and lose all his money creating horror stuff if something went wrong and there was a backlash. So the first thing they did was create something called International Comics. They put out 5 issues to test the waters, and went under a different name of International Comics. These comics, there was 5 of them. Some of them had action-like type covers. Some of them had horror. The best was number 4. It had a horror cover. Some of them were action. Some of them were sci-fi. But they wanted to test the waters. Well, they made this horror cover, which was number 4. And then they made number 5. And I guess they were happy with the results. Nobody really, wasn't much of a backlash. So they went all in, dropped the hammer with EC Comics. And that's whenever, you know, they started creating all the stuff we like Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, shock suspension stories, crime suspension stories, all the good stuff. And, you know, that went on to, you know, early 55, whenever all shit broke loose with the Comic Code Authority. Comic Book Authority, you know, there was Christian groups, there was community groups that were noticing that comic books were getting really, really out there. Around closer you got to 54, the more crazier the covers got. And it was just like the new Jackass movie that came out. Every time, companies had to updo their stuff. That's what Jackass is doing now. The stunts got to get more and more because you got to have that shock factor. You know, the closer you got to 54, 55, there was decapitated heads. There was heads being thrown into the sewers. There was men catching their wife's head on fire on the stove. There was people shooting themselves in the face with guns. There's people being hung by suicide. And you got to remember, back in the 30s, comics were the biggest media in all the world. There wasn't no TV. TV didn't exist in 1955, and the reason I know that is because Marty McFly in Back to the Future fell out of that damn tree and got his head bumped and had to go stay at the house. And if you remember when he was sitting in the kitchen, he was sitting there across from his mom, and his dad, well, I guess it'd been his granddad, rolled in their first TV set. And Marty's like, yeah, I've seen this episode. We got 2 TVs. I'm like, bullshit, nobody's got 2 TVs. The TV just came out. And that was 1955. So that's how I learned a lot of my history through pop culture. But anyway, before, in the 30s and 40s, there wasn't no TVs, there wasn't no phones, there wasn't no video games. Kids were reading comic books, newspaper strips, magazines. That's all there was. So comics were huge 40s, 50s, and 60s. A lot bigger than they are now. And these parents were seeing their kids bring home stuff with suicide, people's decapitated heads, all this stuff the kids were picking up. And community leaders, Christian leaders, they all decided to start having book burnings. And they burned hundreds of thousands of books. And that's why pre-code horror books are so rare now, because of all the book burnings all across the United States, all over the world. People had book burnings. You could keep your Superman, Batman, Flash, but if it was a pre-code horror book or a crime book, they burned them all up. They were the devil's work. That's why you got to respect them now, because if you find any of them, there's a lot that's pretty rare. The international comic books I was talking about are super, super rare before EC took off. Let's see. Not only do you got to respect pre-code horror because of all the book burnings, but if you think about it, these things came out in the 40s, late 40s, early 50s. Shit, that was 70, 80 years ago. So you've had moisture, you've had moths, you've had house fires, you've had book burnings, you've had paper drives. They had paper drives in the 50s and 60s. People were using comic books and people were using, newspapers for insulation in between studs when they're building houses in the 50s. So if you got a house from the 50s, you could have pre-code horror books as newspapers in the walls of your comic book or in the wall of your house. So it's crazy to think what they were doing with paper drives back then. But pre-code horror, you got to respect it because there's not a lot of it out there. And it's super rare. It's a lot rarer than any Superman or Batman books. I mean, pre-code horror, I've got books that are 3 or 4 on the census. I've got lots that's under 10 on the census. And you just got to respect them. What else can I tell you about it? 1956, the company ceased all publishing except for a magazine. They came out with a horror magazine called Mad Magazine. And it went on to be their biggest seller, Mad Magazine. They started doing that when they had to shut down because of the Comic Authority. One of the rules the Comic Authority wanted was they wanted on the covers of these new magazines and comic books, they couldn't use the words horror, they couldn't use the words terror, and they couldn't use the word weird. Of course, EC fought it all the way, but they lost in 56, and they shut down everything except for Mad Magazine. So, and another good thing about EC was EC had the best artists. And they gave their people credits. Other places didn't really give their artists credits. If you went to EC, they had, Johnny Craig, they had Jack Davis, they had Frank Frazetta, they had Jack Kamen, they had Joe Orlando, they had Wally Wood, they had all these good artists. And so, it was an awesome time. Let's get into some books, and if I think anything else, I will let you know. But for now, let's just look at some books. Let's see. I just pulled some random stuff. Here's a note, Atlas 10 Center. It's basically a detective comic. It ain't even scary. There's nothing in it scary. The cover's the scariest part. Cool book. Got this ghoul on the cover. A lot of the books you'd picked up back then, the cover really didn't match the stories. They were kind of more detective oriented, but that's cool. Here we got Baffling Mysteries, and this is a really, really good cover. I really like this one. Terror Beneath the Tides, and other strange and exciting tales. A lot of these books had many stories in them, and as you can see, weird, fantastic, astonishing, baffling mysteries. And this is an ace book. Aces are pretty hard to get. I've got a few aces. I'm just going to show some raw beaters today. We'll get into graded comics some other times, but I got a lot of high dollar, high end comics. But these mean just as much to me. These are well loved. People really read these. The books that are really read, and I could think of some kid was just sitting down reading them over and over again, they're the ones that mean the most to me. They were traded at school. Some kid in 4th grade is probably trading this for, some other cool shock and suspense stories or something. But these are cool. Here's a Chamber of Chills. A lot of them had good girl art on her too. So you had a little bit of horror, like a sackhead here. And then you had like, good girl art. Oh, Billy from the Beaches is out of luck. Because if he messes with this motherfucker, he's going to crush his head like a grape. So, I wouldn't mess with him, Billy from the beach. He came from the burning ashes and the choking dust and returned them to the horror of the shade. So, I don't really know what that means, but cool cover. Billy, you lost your girl. Oh, Sackhead got her. It's a cool 10-cent Chamber of Chills, number 11. All right, moving right along. There's another Chamber of Chills. This is Chamber of Chills 12. Oh, swamp monster. Two people out here fishing, probably for some crappie or something. Giant monster came out of the muck. This cover ain't too bad. I mean, some of the stuff, my kid had it. It's not that big a deal, I wouldn't think. But, 10 years old, whatever, I was watching Natural Born Killers and Dust to Dawn and whatever. Lost Boys is probably my favorite movie of all time. I remember having Monster Squad when I was 10. And then after that, Lost Boys, just the VHS, rerun. I wanted to be a Lost Boy so bad. I want to live in a cave, have a dangly earring, a mullet, ride a dirt bike on the beach, have a badass girl, star, just have a bad girl like her, hang out at the fucking fair every night, eat corn dogs, eat Chinese. You're eating maggots, Michael. All that kind of stuff. I didn't ever have none of that. All right, so here we got an Eerie. Eerie is probably in my top 3 favorite. I love Eerie books. This girl here, she's on about 4 covers. They got lazy and was using this art over and over again. It's on 3 or 4 Eerie covers. One time they changed her hair to black, but it's still the same image. Another time they gave her hips. But, a lot of good girl meets horror art. This is a cool book. I love Eerie. I got a bunch of Eerie. This is number 13. If I find these in bad shape, I buy them. If I find them at all, I buy them. But you can get these online in bad shape for under $200. And if I see them, I pick them up. Love Eerie. Eerie's probably a top 3. My favorite is Ghost Comics. I'm a big, big Ghost Comics. And probably Eerie and maybe Tales from the Crypt might be my 3 favorite. So I love Ghost Comics because, I'm big on Whitman's art. Here's a Forbidden Worlds. Here's a werewolf. Popo. Shot him right in the damn side. There's a werewolf. There's a howling coyote. Maybe it's a wolf, I don't know. They're out at the graveyard tonight. It's a 10 center. Here comes probably Dracula right here. He's a bat. Giant 52 pager. This is American Comics Group. So, pretty cool book. All right. Ghost Breakers. This really wasn't a horror book. It came out in September of 48. It's 10 center. Cool cover. Got this line of skeletons back here. Ghost Breakers was 2 issues. And this is the best cover by far. Best part about this book is Hoodoo City. Sounds like a rap song. I like to go to Hoodoo City. Sounds like a pretty badass place. I bet you they got comic books and slot machines and Miller Lite break. So, Hoodoo City. All right. More good girl art and monsters. This is one of my favorite covers. This is Strange Mysteries. It's 10 cents. It's number 2. And it's here's all the stories in it. But my favorite one is Swamp Terror. Swamp Terror sounds like a metal band from Louisiana. Swamp Terror, if I saw them playing here in my hometown, I would go see Swamp Terror. I mean, good girl art. She's fucking fine to be gray-headed. I wonder if I wasn't brown-headed or something, my copy faded. But anyway, that's a fine-ass gilf. So, she's old granny. She's hot. The old muck monster's going to take her out. So, it's a badass book. And if I ever found a graded copy of this is a pretty rare book. If I ever find a graded high copy of this, I'd buy it. Some Tomb of Terror. Tomb of Terror. It was a pretty popular thing. One of my top 5 favorite books of all time is Tomb of Terror 16. It's a skeleton it's like a zombie holding a dude underwater. I've got a nice CGC of that. We'll show it on here one day. But this is one, just an old beater. This one is number 6. It's not near as cool as 16. But this dude, I think he died of starvation. I mean, he's pretty fucking skinny, and he been in the ground long. It's like, fuck, bro, Atkins diet. Fat boys back here, they didn't miss no meal. Look at him, he can't believe it. It's like, damn, Johnny did all that running and training for the marathons, and he died. But he's coming back. That motherfucker said he would never die until he ran that 5K. So, be a pretty boring book if it's about a 5K. A dude come back to run a 5K. So it's probably not about that. I don't even know if they had 5Ks in the 50s. Alright. This is one of them. I love this title. I'm like that dude who can't make his mind up, where I'm on IG all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's my favorite horror title right there. I love Tales from the Crypt. Next guy posts something like Ghost Comics. Ghost Comics is my favorite. I love Ghost Comics. It's my favorite. It's always been my favorite. Then all of a sudden somebody posts that Eerie's my favorite. Eerie. Classic Eerie. Eerie's always been my favorite. And Web of Evil's always been my favorite too. So, Web of Evil. They got a lot of nice covers. This one here, Buried Alive. The Monster They Couldn't Kill. The Face of the Devil. Just a cool book. And of course, this is number 11. Cool book. 10 center. All these are 10 centers. Now this book's interested me. And it's Witch's Tales. It's my favorite title I've ever had. I love Witch's Tales. This is a beater copy of Witch's Tales number, 14. And the cool part about this is an early book from the 50s, way before, 1962 when Hulk came out. But if you look at it, this kind of reminds you of Incredible Hulk. Here's this dude, yes, not a gamma bomb, but regular man like David Banner that turns into a beast. So it makes you wonder, like, Jekyll and Hyde, Incredible Hulk, was this one of the first stories that some dude turned into a giant beast? I don't know. Great book about transformation. This reminds me of my ex-girlfriend. When you was buying her stuff, when you quit spending money on her. When you buy her stuff, when you quit spending money on her. Give her $1,200, buy some shoes. Give me $1,200, buy a comic. All right, next. Witch and Tales, motherfucker. Check that one out. Burning old Beverly on the stake because they think she's a witch. But I think they're right, because she seems to be enjoying that fire way too much. If you look back there, damn Merle's got on his damn Agner suit, white hat, white suit, and they're terrified. They're like, fuck, man, she is a witch. Look at that bitch. She burning and laughing about it. So, that's a good one. It's December. Number 16. At Christmas, some little boys could have these in their stocking because this is the December issue. Nothing like reading little witching tales on the Lord's birthday, you know what I mean? All right. That one's my favorite title. All right. Maybe I can take where I just did that and learn how to use it as the opening thing for YouTube. I ain't figured out how to do none of that yet. It just saves for whatever. All right. We was talking about EC a while ago. So I pulled a couple EC books. Educational comics. And if you say EC Comics, it's Educational Comics. Don't make any sense. It's kind of like DC Comics. Detective Comics. All right. So these are my 2 favorite Tales from the Crypt covers. We got like an old alcoholic running through a graveyard, and he's got an ice pick, and he's fixing to shank some boy's ass, boy. He ain't playing. And these kids look terrified. And to me, this is a terrifying cover. And why it's terrifying is the most scary shit is shit that could really happen. If a fucking, purple octopus from outer space, that don't scare me. But stuff like ghosts and being possessed, shit that I think could really happen, that's scary. And I really think some dumbass drunk in a graveyard with a full moon could really be chopping up kids. So, to me, this is a cool ass cover. Oh, Bucktooth in the front, he's out of there. We're gonna call him Alvin because he got that A on his head, but I don't know. I just love Tales from the Crypt. I love the way they look. I love everything about them. I'm gonna buy them up. If you see one on eBay cheap, you better grab it because you know I'm gonna get it. If you want it, you better buy it. I don't care if I got 2 or 3 of them. I'll buy it again. All right. This is my favorite Tales from the Crypt cover. It's probably my favorite werewolf cover, too. No, it's not my favorite werewolf cover. My favorite PCH book of all time, Beyond One. I've gotten a 6.5 grade. It's a CGC pedigree. It's my favorite. But this werewolf cover is my second favorite. This is number 46, the last issue of Tales from the Crypt. Look at that. Look at that fucking werewolf. And I love the way the light's coming off the lantern. That dude out there doing a little coon hunting on a full moon night, he don't even know that werewolf's stalking him. He's looking for his damn coon dog and some coons. And this motherfucker is looking for lunch, baby. So, I really like Tales from the Crypt 46. My favorite. Alright. I've got one more. Did I say that last one was my favorite EC cover? I meant it was my favorite Tales from the Crypt cover. My favorite EC cover. Shit changes like the wind, brother. My favorite EC cover is this one. This is Shocking Suspense, number 6. Classic cover. I decided to pull out one CGC book because you got to show this. So, me, I live in the deep south. Lived here 44 years. So, this cover kind of probably resonates more with me than it does somebody living in fucking Guam or Oregon. Don't matter. It's fucked up. It was a bad time in the nation, but it's history and it really happened. Shit, but that's the Klan. That's some girl. She's tied up. You can see the old 50 Mercury over here. Chop top. Crazy cover. You see this cover on a lot of EC trades and big hardback books because it's such a classic cover. What back in the day, I mean, what you do when your kid brings this home? Hey, I got some new comics at the store when I got my damn float. Got this. Check it out, Mom. So, this one here, it's a Bill Gaines. It's got Wally Wood art, Joe Orlando art, Wally Wood cover. Beautiful artwork. I love the way they did the shading in the back with a full moon. Growing up here in the South, this book is 1953. My mom and dad could have bought this off the shelf in 53. They were alive when this shit was going on. My grandparents were alive when this shit was going on. I want to think over the years, as the generations die out, it's morbid to say, but racism gets a little less and less as the older people die out. But, it's a classic bondage cover. Shock. Alright. And you know what time it is. Bonus book. Alright, today's bonus book. A while ago I was telling you about some real rare books that came out before EC started to test the waters. There's 5 issues of industrial shit, not industrial. It was International Comics. There's 5 issues. They came out before EC to test the waters, before EC gave the green light to drop the hammer, drop educational books, drop, Bible books, drop science books, and start concentrating on crime, horror, and science fiction. And these international books are pretty damn rare. And I've got the best issue there is, issue 4. It's the only one that's really, I call horror of the 5. There's some other ones in there, sci-fi and stuff, but I had to get the horror one. So, here's the evil clown. He's dropping a dude in with them damn lines. This is from 1947. EC Comics. Beautiful cover. This is a pretty rare book. CGC started grading books in 2000. It's now 2022. So in 22 years, they've seen 11 of these come across their desk. There's 11 copies of this on CGC. So that's 1 every 2 years it get graded. And I remember 5 years ago, there were still 11. So they haven't seen one of these in a long time. I'd be willing to say in the last 5 years, they haven't graded one of these. There's 11 copies of this. That's known. I mean, there's only 11 on CGC in 22 years. So if you do the figuring, that's 1 every 2 years that comes across their desk. But I know they probably did 1 in 5 years because it's been on 11 forever. So there it is, guys. Your rare International Comics number 4. If you ever see one of these, buy it. I don't give a damn what it costs. Buy it. Might not be worth what you pay if you pay too much, because most people don't even know it exists. How do you want something that you don't know exists? And that's the problem with most pre-code horror. A lot of people want it after they see it, but they don't know it exists, so how can they want it? A lot of people see Superman and Batman, and they're like, it's everywhere. They go to every Comic-Con, there it is. There's stuff in pre-code that I'm still seeing that I've never seen before. And I'm constantly adding to my wish list, so... that's our first pre-code haul. That's just a bunch of raw beaters for the most part. But if you like what you see, come join the family. Hit the smash the subscription button, whatever. And if you like content like this, I'm going to keep making it. So tomorrow we're probably going to have a short video after this. And get back to some short stuff. Some modern, some more superhero shit, some more skanky comics, some more pre-code horror, some more 70s comics. I'm going to bring it all to you. So leave in the comments if there's anything you really want to see, and we'll probably get around to it. Until next time.